What if one of the world's oldest civilizations survived not because it avoided chaos, but because it learned to master it? What if the empire that gave humanity paper, silk, gunpowder, and the compass was built upon centuries of war, betrayal, and extraordinary ambition? For more than 4,000 years, the story of ancient China has unfolded through the rise and fall of dynasties, legendary rulers, and revolutionary ideas that continue to shape the modern world. According to research from UNESCO and the British Museum, China's continuous civilization is among the oldest on Earth, with archaeological evidence stretching back thousands of years along the Yellow River. Yet one of its greatest mysteries remains unanswered. How did dozens of competing kingdoms become one of history's most enduring civilizations? The answer begins with a legend. And that legend would forever change the course of human history. Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from, and let me know in the comments which ancient civilization fascinates you the most: Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome, the Maya, or ancient China. I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now imagine standing on the banks of the Yellow River nearly 5,000 years ago. The river roars through the valley, carrying rich soil that makes farming possible. But it also brings devastating floods capable of destroying entire villages overnight. The people living here respect the river. They also fear it. Its waters give life. Its floods bring death. Generations would later call it China's sorrow. According to ancient tradition, a leader known as Yu the Great accomplished what no one else could. Rather than trying to block the floods, he redirected the rivers through canals and waterways, allowing the water to flow naturally. Whether Yu was a historical figure, a legendary hero, or a combination of both remains a matter of debate. Historians still debate this today. But his story reflects something deeper. From its earliest beginnings, Chinese civilization viewed wise leadership not simply as military strength, but as the ability to create order from chaos. That idea would shape Chinese history for thousands of years. The truth was far more complicated. Long before great emperors ruled vast territories, farming communities gradually expanded along the fertile plains of northern China. People cultivated millet and later rice. They domesticated animals. Craftsmen shaped beautiful pottery. Villages slowly became towns. Towns became cities. Knowledge accumulated across generations. No one living there could have imagined that these settlements would eventually give rise to one of humanity's greatest civilizations. Archaeologists have uncovered remarkable discoveries from cultures such as Liangzhu and Longshan. These societies built sophisticated settlements, crafted exquisite jade objects, and developed increasingly complex social structures centuries before China's first historically confirmed dynasty appeared. One lesser-known fact continues to amaze researchers. Some jade artifacts discovered in ancient Chinese tombs required hundreds of hours of careful polishing. Without metal tools capable of easily shaping such hard stone, ancient craftsmen achieved astonishing precision using patience and remarkable skill. Every object reflected extraordinary dedication. But this was only the beginning. Around the second millennium BC, the Xia Dynasty emerged. Unlike the legendary Xia Dynasty, the Shang left behind evidence that archaeologists can study directly. Bronze vessels, royal tombs, weapons, palaces, most importantly, writing. For the first time, ancient China began speaking to us through its own written words. Imagine walking into the royal capital during the height of Shang power. Massive bronze bells echo through ceremonial courtyards. Priests prepare sacred rituals. Soldiers guard the palace walls. Artisans pour molten bronze into carefully carved molds. The smell of smoke fills the air as furnaces blaze throughout the city. The Shang kings believed their ancestors continued guiding the living. Before making important decisions, they consulted spirits through objects now known as oracle bones. Questions were carefully carved onto animal bones or turtle shells. They asked whether harvests would succeed, whether wars would be won, whether natural disasters threatened the kingdom. The bones were heated until cracks appeared. Priests interpreted those cracks as messages from the ancestors. Remarkably, thousands of these oracle bones survive today. They contain some of the earliest known examples of Chinese writing. Modern scholars have successfully read many of them. Unlike the mysterious script of the Indus Valley Civilization, the earliest Chinese writing eventually evolved into forms that can still be understood. This continuity provides historians with an extraordinary window into the ancient past. The Shang kings ruled through a combination of military strength, religious authority, and political alliances. Their bronze technology became famous throughout the ancient world. Some ceremonial vessels weigh hundreds of kilograms and display artistic craftsmanship that still astonishes archaeologists today. What happened next shocked everyone. No dynasty lasts forever. As generations passed, dissatisfaction grew. Powerful regional leaders questioned Shang authority. One kingdom in particular began rising in the west. Its leaders claimed something revolutionary. They argued that heaven itself had withdrawn its support from the Shang kings. According to their belief, rulers governed only because heaven permitted them to rule. If a king became corrupt, cruel, or incompetent, heaven could remove that mandate and grant it to another dynasty. This became known as the Mandate of Heaven. It would become one of the most influential political ideas in world history. The Zhou dynasty defeated the Shang around 1046 BC. But instead of simply celebrating military victory, the Zhou justified their conquest as a moral necessity. They claimed they had not seized power. They had restored justice. The Mandate of Heaven transformed every future dynasty. Success proved heaven's approval. Disaster suggested heaven's anger. Floods, famines, rebellions, eclipses. All could be interpreted as signs that a ruler had lost heaven's favor. Imagine being an emperor during a devastating drought. The crops fail. The people begin starving. Rumors spread across villages. Some whisper that heaven has abandoned the throne. Suddenly, nature itself becomes a political threat. The Zhou dynasty expanded across enormous territories. Instead of directly controlling every region, the kings granted land to loyal nobles. These nobles governed local territories while promising loyalty to the king. Initially, the system worked remarkably well. Trade expanded, agriculture improved, population increased, Chinese civilization entered a new period of prosperity. But the truth was far more complicated. As generations passed, local nobles grew increasingly powerful. Some commanded armies nearly equal to the king's own forces. Others ignored royal commands entirely. The authority of the Zhou kings gradually weakened. Without realizing it, the dynasty had created rivals capable of challenging the throne itself. By the 8th century BC, the Zhou capital was attacked. The king survived, but royal authority never fully recovered. China entered an age of political fragmentation. Dozens of independent states competed for land, wealth, and influence. All claimed legitimacy. All believed they deserved to rule. The period became known as the Spring and Autumn Era. What followed would completely reshape Chinese civilization. Brilliant philosophers emerged. Military strategists developed revolutionary ideas. Powerful kingdoms prepared for wars unlike anything China had witnessed before. One of those philosophers was Confucius. His teachings about morality, family, education, and responsible government would influence East Asia for more than 2,000 years. Yet when he first shared his ideas, China was descending toward one of the bloodiest periods in its ancient history. The kingdoms continued growing stronger. Their armies became larger. Iron weapons replaced bronze. New military tactics transformed warfare. The struggle for supremacy had only just begun. And soon, one ambitious ruler would set out to accomplish what many believed was impossible. He would unite all of China under a single empire. The world that Confucius dreamed of was one guided by wisdom, virtue, and moral leadership. The world that actually emerged was very different. As the authority of the Zhou kings continued to fade, the independent kingdoms no longer saw themselves as loyal subjects of a single dynasty. They became rivals competing for survival. The age known as the Warring States period had begun. For more than 2 centuries, Powerful kingdoms fought for dominance across northern and central China. Massive armies marched through fertile valleys. Fortified cities rose behind towering walls. Farmers abandoned their fields to become soldiers. Entire generations knew little except conflict. The truth was far more complicated than a simple struggle for territory. Each kingdom sought not only military victory, but also better ways to govern, organize, and strengthen society. Competition fueled innovation. Iron tools improved agriculture. Roads connected distant cities. Large irrigation projects increased harvests. Governments developed more efficient systems of taxation and administration. Paradoxically, centuries of warfare also accelerated China's development. One kingdom steadily rose above the others. Qin, located in western China, the Qin state was once dismissed as distant and uncivilized by its rivals. That underestimation would prove to be a fatal mistake. The rulers of Qin embraced sweeping reforms. Officials were promoted for merit rather than noble birth. Military commanders earned rewards based on success in battle. Agricultural production became a national priority. Every resource was directed toward strengthening the state. What happened next shocked everyone. Within a few generations, Qin transformed from a regional kingdom into the most disciplined military power in China. Its armies advanced with remarkable organization. Its commanders employed innovative tactics. Its government operated with extraordinary efficiency. Kingdom after kingdom fell before the advancing Qin forces. The greatest figure of this transformation was Qin Shi Huang. Ascending the throne of Qin as a young ruler, he inherited a powerful kingdom. He intended to build something far greater. By 221 BC, after decades of relentless campaigns, Qin conquered its final rival. For the first time in recorded history, China stood united under a single emperor. It was a moment that transformed world history. Imagine standing outside the imperial capital. Messengers arrive from every direction carrying news of victory. Royal banners wave above newly conquered territories. Officials record the names of distant provinces now belonging to one empire. People who had once considered themselves citizens of rival kingdoms suddenly found themselves subjects of a single ruler. The dream of unity had become reality. But this was only the beginning. Qin Shi Huang understood that conquering China was easier than governing it. He believed lasting unity required eliminating the old divisions that had separated the kingdoms for centuries. He introduced standardized weights and measures. A merchant traveling hundreds of kilometers could now use the same system throughout the empire. He standardized coinage, making trade more efficient. Roads expanded across the empire, linking distant regions. Even the written script was standardized, allowing officials from different areas to communicate more effectively. These reforms helped transform many diverse kingdoms into a more unified civilization. One lesser-known fact highlights the scale of these changes. The imperial road network constructed during the Qin Dynasty stretched thousands of kilometers, enabling officials, soldiers, and merchants to travel more quickly than ever before. Infrastructure became a powerful instrument of government. Yet Qin Shi Huang's ambition reached even further. Along China's northern frontier, several kingdoms had already built defensive walls against raids. Rather than abandoning them, the emperor ordered many of these fortifications to be connected and expanded. Although the structure known today as the Great Wall mostly dates from later dynasties, the Qin laid the foundation for one of history's most famous defensive systems. Imagine thousands of laborers working across rugged mountains and windswept valleys, stone, earth, timber. Day after day, section after section stretches farther across the northern frontier. The project symbolizes both extraordinary determination and enormous human cost. Historians still debate exactly how many laborers participated in these massive construction efforts. The numbers recorded in later sources may be exaggerated, but there is little doubt that countless ordinary people contributed to the emperor's grand vision. Then came another astonishing discovery. Near the emperor's burial complex, archaeologists uncovered one of the greatest archaeological finds of the 20th century. The Terracotta Army. thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, each with unique facial features, each equipped with carefully crafted weapons, infantry, archers, cavalry, generals, even horses. They stood silently guarding their emperor in the afterlife for more than 2,000 years. Imagine the moment in 1974 when farmers digging a well uncovered fragments of clay beneath the soil. At first, they believed they had found ordinary pottery. Instead, they had uncovered one of the world's greatest archaeological treasures. What happened next astonished historians around the globe. Excavations revealed an underground army unlike anything previously discovered. No two faces appeared exactly alike. Every figure displayed extraordinary craftsmanship. The emperor had prepared not merely for death, he had prepared to rule forever. But the truth was far more complicated. Despite his incredible achievements, Qin Shi Huang ruled for only a relatively short time after unifying China. His government imposed heavy taxes. Large construction projects demanded enormous labor. Strict laws punished even minor offenses severely. Many people admired the empire's strength, others feared its authority. When the emperor died in 210 BC, uncertainty spread rapidly. Court officials competed for influence. Political conspiracies emerged inside the imperial palace. Far from the capital, rebellions erupted. The dynasty that had united China collapsed only a few years later. It had changed history forever, yet it would not survive long enough to enjoy its own success. Out of the chaos, another dynasty prepared to rise, one that would preserve many Qin reforms while ruling with greater flexibility: the Han Dynasty. Its achievements would become so influential that even today, the majority ethnic group in China still identifies itself as the Han people. But the rise of the Han would require overcoming civil war, rebuilding a fractured empire, and redefining what it meant to govern one of the world's greatest civilizations. And what happened next would shape Chinese history for the next 2,000 years. The fall of the Qin dynasty should have marked the end of a dream. The empire had been united through extraordinary ambition, yet within only a few years of the first emperor's death, rebellion swept across the land. Villages rose against imperial officials. Generals declared their independence. Rival leaders fought for control of China once again. To many, it seemed as though unity had been nothing more than a brief illusion. But history had other plans. From the chaos emerged a new leader, Liu Bang, a man born not into royalty, but into an ordinary farming family. Unlike many aristocratic generals, Liu Bang understood the hardships of common people. After years of civil war, he defeated his greatest rival, Xiang Yu, and in 202 BC established the Han Dynasty. What happened next changed the course of world history. Rather than destroying everything created by the Qin, the Han rulers preserved many of the empire's greatest reforms. The standardized writing system remained. The road network expanded. The unified currency continued. But the Han balanced strong government with more stable administration, allowing the empire to flourish for centuries. The truth was far more complicated. Military power alone could not hold such a vast empire together. Ideas became just as important as armies. The teachings of Confucius, once ignored during the violent warring states period, became the philosophical foundation of government. Officials were expected to demonstrate wisdom, honesty, discipline, and respect for learning. Education became one of the greatest paths to public service. This belief that talent and learning should matter in government would influence Chinese civilization for more than 2,000 years. Imagine walking through the Han capital. Wide avenues stretch before magnificent palaces. Scholars debate philosophy in peaceful gardens. Government officials carefully copy official records onto bamboo slips. Merchants arrive with exotic goods from distant lands. The empire feels confident, prosperous, powerful. But this was only the beginning. During the reign of Emperor Wu of Han, China expanded dramatically. Its armies secured new territories. Trade routes reached farther west than ever before. These routes would eventually become known as the Silk Road. Caravans loaded with silk, lacquerware, iron tools, spices, and precious goods, crossed deserts and mountains toward Central Asia. From there, products continued toward Persia and eventually the Mediterranean world. The Silk Road carried far more than merchandise. It carried ideas, religions, technologies, languages, cultures. Civilizations that had once known little about one another gradually became connected. One lesser-known fact demonstrates the extraordinary value of Chinese silk. In ancient Rome, silk became one of the most luxurious fabrics imaginable. Some Roman writers even criticized wealthy citizens for spending enormous fortunes on imported Chinese silk without fully understanding where it came from. Two great civilizations stood at opposite ends of Eurasia. Though separated by thousands of kilometers, they became linked through trade. Ancient China also transformed the world through innovation. Papermaking revolutionized communication. Advanced iron production improved agriculture and industry. Seismographs helped detect earthquakes. Porcelain became famous across continents. Centuries later, inventions such as printing, gunpowder, and the magnetic compass would further reshape human civilization. Many of these breakthroughs originated from generations of experimentation rather than sudden discoveries. Innovation became part of China's enduring legacy. Historians still debate this today. What explains ancient China's remarkable continuity? Many great empires disappeared completely. Yet Chinese civilization survived repeated invasions, rebellions, natural disasters, and dynastic collapses. Perhaps the answer lies in its remarkable ability to adapt. Dynasties rose and fell. Governments changed. Borders shifted. Yet language, philosophy, culture, and shared traditions endured. That continuity became one of China's greatest strengths. Of course, the Han Dynasty itself did not last forever. Political corruption increased. Powerful court factions competed for influence. Natural disasters weakened public confidence. Rebellions spread across the empire. By AD 220, the Han Dynasty collapsed. China entered another age of division. But unlike earlier periods, the idea of a united China survived. Future rulers no longer asked whether China should be united. They asked who would unite it. That idea, born during the Qin and strengthened by the Han, would define Chinese history for the next 2,000 years. The greatest twist is that ancient China's most enduring achievement was not a single emperor, battle, or invention. It was the creation of a civilization capable of renewing itself again and again. When one dynasty failed, another emerged. When one capital fell, another was built. When chaos threatened to destroy everything, new leaders rebuilt what had been lost. Few civilizations in history have demonstrated such resilience. Today, the influence of ancient China can still be seen around the world. Its philosophy shaped governments across East Asia. Its inventions transformed global civilization. Its literature, art, engineering, and scientific achievements continue to inspire scholars and historians. The Great Wall stands as a symbol of determination. The Terracotta Army reminds us of imperial ambition. The Silk Road represents humanity's desire to connect across continents. And the wisdom of Confucius continues to be studied more than 25 centuries after his lifetime. Ancient China was not simply another empire. It became one of the foundations of world civilization. Its story reminds us that true greatness is measured not only by conquest, but by the ideas, innovations, and institutions that continue to shape humanity long after empires have disappeared. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to explore more forgotten civilizations, legendary empires, and the greatest stories in history, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new documentary. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which dynasty do you believe had the greatest impact on ancient China? The Shang, Zhou, Qin, or Han? Let me know in the comments below. I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your perspective.